Welcome back to Leah's Leaves. I watched a Hugh Richards video this week where he went through if he had to pick one thing, one crop. And I thought that was such a good idea. He's over in the UK, and so I have access to different seeds from him. So I thought I would do the same today and share with you my top producers, top flavor, just general favorites. I'll explain where I got the seeds and why I love them so much. And we'll just go through several categories, starting with peppers, which are one of my favorite things to grow. As far as sweet bell peppers go, my favorite is this one, Whopper Yunnan. Now I got this from Nikotovka Seeds in Ukraine before they changed the import laws and everything. I don't know how easy these would come by. If you had to pick a different variety that's similar, I would pick Chinese Giant or Keystone Giant Resistant. Next is my favorite snacking pepper, the Lesia pepper. Thick walls, super sweet, beautiful fruit. For some mild spice, I like the Pasilla Bajío pepper. And this particular variety was really prolific for me. I just kept picking tons and tons and tons of fruit off of it. I picked some green, I picked some ripe, and they were delicious at every stage. Craig's Grande is my go-to jalapeno. I use a lot of jalapenos in my cooking. It's just like an all-purpose, mildly hot pepper. And this particular variety really produces bigger jalapenos than some of the others, which is what I want. Lemon Drop is my favorite all-purpose cooking pepper, and I would also probably close second contender would be Serrano peppers. These are just, I can grab one or two off a plant, chop them up, and throw them into just about anything I'm cooking. They're not too terribly hot, but they add enough kick to add interest. They're also really pretty plants when they're growing. Hands down, no contest, my most productive plants for the last few years have been these large red hot cherry peppers. I grew them in containers and in a raised bed. They did well in both environments. Again, it's enough heat to add interest to the dish, especially if I'm cooking for other people and I don't want to go too hot. This is a good balance. The most interesting semi-hot or mildly hot pepper I've grown in a long time is Thunder Mountain Longhorn. And I originally got some seeds from Dee over at Garden of the Eden in Seed Swap. And I ran out of those, or I guess they had just gotten a little old. And so I found pupperpeppers.com and replaced them this year. And I'm going to grow these again. These are super, super long, thin cayenne style peppers, and they're very cool and interesting looking. For better heat, I like the red Savina, which is bred to be a hotter variety than a typical habanero. I think those red Savina peppers are also a little bit thicker walls, which I prefer. And my favorite of all the super hots that I've grown recently are these Kang Star Lemon Stars. Kang is a breeder. He's on YouTube and has very interesting varieties, and I bought this off of his website. I do grow a lot of super hots, and another one that I generally like is the Scotch Bonnet pepper, and I do the Ministry of Agriculture one, the MOA, which is the original strain. Now on to tomatoes. This is my favorite productive red slicer plant. This is a climbing triple crop. Climbing triple crop grows and grows and grows, by the way. They can get like 15 or 16 feet long if you climb them, if you send them up a trellis or a ladder. For a non-red slicer, I like this new one, that new to me last year, the Lemon Giant. Beautiful beef steak, great flavor, lower acidity, huge size. For a standard red cherry tomato, I will always default to the Super Sweet 100. It's just massively productive and fairly uniform. And once it started going and I was picking from it, it just kept blooming and producing and blooming and producing. This one, I just picked it for a non-red cherry because of how cool it looks. This is called Evil Olive. Talk about that. It's a beautiful fruit. I don't eat raw cherry tomatoes, or I don't eat raw tomatoes, so I can't tell you how it compares as far as flavor. I grab cherry tomatoes or any kind of tomatoes, just kind of mix them into tomato dishes. I make sauce out of these. I'll add them to paste tomatoes, but they were just beautiful on the plant. I know it's weird that I grow like 20 varieties of tomatoes every year, but I don't actually eat them raw, but I do cook a lot with them. I make salsas and sauces. And then this one is this is shemag stew stuffing tomato. These are shaped like a bell pepper with thick walls. You can cut the top off and fill them just like you're stuffing a pepper and broil them the same way. Put some meat, rice, cheese, and veg, some onion, mix it all together, stuff these, and bake and broil them. They are also very good for paste making or sauce making. They don't have a whole lot of juice on the inside. My favorite paste tomato that's an interesting color variety is called Gargamel. It's hard to see in that little picture. I'll see if I can flash one up on the screen. But these are a beautiful multi-tone red with black shoulders, some orange. They're huge too. For a paste tomato, they get pretty big. For a determinate tomato, I pick Heinz because I'm from Western PA and I would feel like a traitor if I didn't. Anyway, Heinz is superior and the classic processor tomatoes grow really well as a determinate bush variety. Raspberry Liana has been my favorite bush tomato for years. It looks redder here than it does in real life. It really is more of a pink tomato. And uniform shape, great saladette size, between 4 and 8 ounces of fruit traditionally, and terrific flavor, balanced acidity, not too watery, and the plant just pops with fruit. Of all the dwarf varieties, and I do grow quite a few dwarf because I grow a lot of my plants in 3 or 5 gallon buckets. So this Bogema tomato is the best producing dwarf variety that I've grown in a long time. And the Bogema is red. It's just a classic standard red slicer tomato on a dwarf stalk. But the Uluru ochre tomato is gorgeous, gorgeous. It's you get an orange tomato with like blackish or purple shoulders. It's just a stunningly beautiful tomato and a really good producing plant. And as far as micro or dwarf cherries, Tiny Tim has been great for me. There are some other varieties that I grow and I like them, but I always come back to Tiny Tim. It's easy to grow. I've had great germination rates and tons of little cherry tomatoes on these plants. And they don't grow more than 18 inches tall. And I have grown, and I'm not growing any now, but in the past, when I had a better lighting system set up in my house, I actually grew Tiny Tim year round under grow lights. My favorite of the ground cherries is the pineapple tomatillo. Wonderful flavor. You can bake with these and make jellies and stuff. Mine never make it into the house. I eat them. They're my chef snack while I'm out in the garden. I eat them by the handsful while I'm out working. And they don't survive a trip into the house. They're delicious. The Gold King of Siberia was the vine variety that I grew that produced the highest quantity, pound for pound, of all tomato plants that I've ever grown. Tons and tons and tons of food. With those oxheart varieties too, there are very few seeds and very little juice, so they're also good for paste making. This little discovery is from a couple years ago, and I usually just grew Black Beauty eggplant, and I had tried some patio varieties. I tried diamond, and my gosh, it was beautiful, textured, uniform shape and size, and really productive for an eggplant. And I had good germination rates from these. I got these from My Gardener. They're the only ones I've seen this variety at so far. But I recommend this uh, over the Black Beauty now. They're not as fat as the Black Beauty either, and I found them just easier to cook with. We'll move to beets and beans right now. Of all the beets I grew this year and last year that had a beautiful, round, uniform, easy grow, no pest pressure, was baby beet. My favorite beet to grow that's just interesting is from Row 7 Seeds. It's a seed to table restaurant, and they sell this open pollinated variety called Badger Flame. From beans, I like to grow the Tongue of Fire Borlato beans. This is a bush variety. They're good fresh eating, but I like them dry, like the way I would use a pinto bean. So I just leave them on the plant to dry. Kentucky Wonder, the pole bean that has done the best for me year after year. Christmas lima beans. I'm a sucker for lima beans. I used to grow the Henderson limas. I've tried the Ford Hook. I think it's Ford Hook 242. And then I discovered these Christmas ones. They taste exactly the same as any other lima bean. They're just really pretty when they're dry. I eat most of them fresh and then just leave a few on the vine to plant. So these are left over from the packet I started with this year. I have tons to plant next year. And then red noodle beans, Chinese red noodle beans. These are home saved seeds from a plant I grew up a teepee trellis in my yard. And they did so well, and they were so pretty. Their blossoms are beautiful. The pods are beautiful. You have to pick them young. They're sort of like okra. If you even wait 1 or 2 extra days and miss them, you pick them when they're pencil thin. But if you wait too long, then they're not as good. But you can eat these, chop them up and eat them, saute, stir fry, just like you would a normal green bean. Let's turn to some warm weather crops. I'm pulling these out, by the way, just based on how I have my seeds organized. My 2 favorite cucumbers, they're boring. They're boring and old and heirloom, and they're not fancy and they're not cute, but they're just tried and true, reliable varieties. My favorite slicer is Straight 8. My favorite pickling cucumber is National Pickling. There are a lot of varieties out there, and I grow other varieties of cucumbers, but these are the 2 that I always have in my garden, Slicer and Pickling. I used to grow, I had Bodacious sweet corn for a few years, and I liked it. And I tried Ambrosia, and it was okay. I had a bad Japanese beetle problem, and it affected. I don't blame the corn for that. It was just a bad year for Japanese beetles last year. This year, I tried Triple Crown. For the first time, I got these at my local seed library, the seed vault at my local public library. And wow, just wow. Great, 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 great production, great flavor, very reliable, great germination rates. And so I'll be growing this again. And I actually saved seeds from this year, and I'm going to trial. I'll do half from the original seed packet and half from the ones I saved and see who does better. I live in a northern climate. It's hard to grow okra because we have such short summers, but we do get hot summers. And so if you keep the okra watered and fertilized, I can grow it, and I have to start the seeds indoors early like my tomatoes and peppers. This is a variety called Heavy Hitter. I have been so impressed with this variety, I will never grow another variety. It's amazing. Because of space, I found this. I love the sugar baby watermelons because I'm a single person. I just live by myself. So growing compact varieties of things for a single serving or small serving matters. But I found this bush variety, and that was a great idea for my small space gardening. Same with the Minnesota Midget Cantaloupe. These are just 4-pound personal size They're 5 or 6 inches across. You can hold them in the palm of your hand and get one serving out of them. Great flavor. And you can see how the seed pod is just right dead center. So it's easy to scoop out. And then there's a lot of fruit around it. For shelling peas, the best I have grown is Strike. They don't need staked. They only grow about between 20 and 24 inches. So they don't need trellised or anything, but they are prolific and fat. I love big fat peas, and they produce very well. It's called Strike. I don't grow a whole lot of squash. I've tried different varieties. Squash for me is something that I'll eat sparingly and only in season, and then I don't bother with it the rest of the time. But Burgess Buttercup is the variety that has done the best for me right here where I'm growing in Western PA. Another bush variety is this bush zucchini. Again, for the same reasons, just compact. But I gotta tell you, I think one plant had like maybe 9 or 10 zucchini on it, and I planted 3 plants. And that was way more for me. I ended up letting a couple of them just go and not even harvesting them because I had plenty with just a few plants. My favorite pumpkin to grow is this Long Island cheese pumpkin. It's beautiful. It's just a pretty plant. I don't cook with it. It's more for decoration, and it's a beautiful decoration. The Long Island cheese pumpkin, by the way, is reported to have a really good flavor if you do eat pumpkin things. My favorite bunching onion is the Guardsman. My favorite red onion is red burgundy. I've tried ruby red too, and I've had good results with those. They're smaller though. The red burgundy seems to fill out better. And this is an Australian brown. I love it. It's big. It's similar to the Utah yellow or the yellow sweet Spanish onion, I guess. But it's got browner skin. This is from an Australian seed packet that I got at Baker Creek, and it has really produced well for me. I'm not a huge fan of celery to eat it, but I don't mind the flavor of it. It's the strings that get caught in my teeth. So I found this, this came from Asian Garden to Table. That's Regina. She has a great YouTube channel, by the way. And I bought her all seasons Chinese celery. So it's a leafing celery with thinner stalks and great flavor, but not all of the bulk and stringiness of traditional celery. My favorite parsnips are all American. And same with my favorite leeks, by the way. I didn't have a seed packet to show you, but it's American flag leek. And I have a new variety to try this year called Giant Musselburgh. That's supposed to be a larger variety of leek. And I did a Carrington leek. It's some seeds I got at the public library last year, and they produced pretty well for me. But American flag has just been an old tried and true steady leek. This is my favorite carrot. It's so interesting and so pretty. You might not like it. I think it's an acquired taste. I happen to love it. It's not as sweet as a traditional orange carrot. It's more floral. It's hard to describe. But I found that I really liked it. And they're just really beautiful. That's called Long Rouge Sang. Those came from Baker Creek too. My favorite red radishes is the champion radish. And I love radishes. I like growing radish greens this time of year as microgreens. But the champion is a nice big, it's not so small. A lot of radishes, they're so tiny. But this one actually has some meat on it. My favorite non-red, non-traditional radish was and ever shall be wasabi. If you are a spicy food lover, and especially wasabi, you need to try wasabi arugula and wasabi radish. I promise you will not be disappointed. Now we'll get into our brassicas and greens. I have had very little success with cauliflower. but this year I grew snow crown and came closest to having a successful crop. So I'm going to stick with it for a while. I've tried Snowball X and Snowball Y and Romanesco. I really want to learn how to grow Romanesco, so I'm going to keep trying that one too. But Snow Crown did better for me this year. Speedurello Lycia are broccoli greens. So it's like a sprouting broccoli, and the stems and leaves are all edible like a broccoli plant, but thinner and more tender. So you can eat the whole plant more easily. It was a delicious plant. It doesn't have huge broccoli heads, which was good for me because I get a lot of pestilence in my broccoli. No worms to deal with, so just good broccoli flavor. The little bit of broccoli that I have grown was a hybrid version. Most of my seeds are heirloom, but if I struggle to get a good crop of something, I'll try a hybrid version. And I have struggled with broccoli because of the whitefly problem and being real wormy and stuff, and it's just not edible or easy to clean. But Sun King did really well for me, so I'm going to stick with that. I love kohlrabi, and even though the purple doesn't grow as big as the white in my experience, I like the look of it, and when you pick it at about 2.5 to 3 inches wide, it's got a sweetness to it and is still pretty tender. My favorite easy to grow turnip is Market Express. Bright white, round, uniform, beautiful, great flavor, and the greens are good. And my favorite rutabaga so far has been this Navone Yellow. And I've also grown the purple top before, and it has done fine for me, but I really liked the flavor of this. It was just mild, and you can do anything with a rutabaga that you can do with a potato, but without all the starch and with more of the vitamins and minerals. So if you're looking for a healthier alternative to potato, grow rutabagas. As far as green lettuce goes, my favorite leafy lettuce is just that traditional black-seeded Simpson. That's a reliable standby. This variety, New York, was the most successful iceberg heading lettuce I've ever grown. And I did it in 3-gallon buckets, and it was perfect. My favorite romaine is Little Gem. I grow these every year. As for red lettuces, Red Tango leaf lettuce has done really well for me for years. Super red romaine. I prefer romaine over leaf, so I grow more romaine lettuce, and this one is gorgeous, and it makes a great red Caesar salad. And then this is a new variety to me this year, and it was wonderful. And even through the heat, it didn't bolt. I grew it in my green stock. It was perfect. It's called Brentwood. So I'm definitely growing this one again this year. Brentwood became a new favorite for me. Best Napa heading cabbage I ever grew is Michi Healy. And huge, beautiful, delicious Napa cabbage. Great, great, great for fresh eating and for sauteing. Yeah. I don't know why it did so well compared to other things, but I'll grow it again and again. This is a new Brussels sprout that I tried this year. Brussels sprouts is another one that I've struggled to grow. I've tried it as a spring crop. I've tried it as a fall crop. This year, I did it as a fall crop, and all 6 of the plants that I planted outside produced a ton of food. I've pickled them, so I have pickled Brussels sprouts, but Cassiopeia did wonderfully. I love bok choy. Best bok choy I ever grew is this dark rose variety. It does well in the heat. It has a beautiful color, beautiful flavor. And what I do is I grow it scattered around my dwarf and determinate tomatoes in buckets, and just grow it as a perimeter plant. And it acts as a living mulch too, but delicious. Favorite spinach is Viraflay now. I've grown it since 2019 or 2020. I forget which was the first year. And I'll grow it every year. It just does so well. And the leaves are huge, but the bigger they get, they don't lose their tenderness. I like this flat leaf kale better than the curled kale. And it's easier to see the white flies and the eggs and stuff. So if I do have the butterflies laying eggs on it, it's easier to deal with that sooner before the plant is decimated. I like radicchio. This is sometimes called chicory. Uh, Not everybody likes it. It's a bitter green, but I love it in a salad that I make with a vinaigrette and tuna, canned tuna that's been drained, and white beans, like cannellini beans are perfect for it, and some other things. It's a recipe I found online one time, and I grow my radicchio just so I can make that salad each year. My favorite of all the mustards is Green Wave. Oop, sorry, Green Wave. So it's just beautiful plant. I like mustards. They're good and spicy. I mix them in with other greens. There's another variety that I like called ultraviolet. If you want colorful mustard greens, they're purple stems. I mentioned earlier that they make there is a variety of arugula called wasabi. It tastes exactly like wasabi mustard. So if you're a wasabi fan like I am, grow this arugula. It is fabulous. Same with those radishes I mentioned. And my final green, I I heard somebody pronounce this kijimsi, um, who is a Korean, or Chijimsai, or I don't know how to say it exactly. I'm just going to call it Kijimsi because I trust the person who said it. And but it is a vitamin green. It's a cross between like a Kamatsuma mustard and a tatsoi, and it is loaded, nutrient dense, easy to grow. It has the texture of kale, but a flavor that is much milder and doesn't have any bitterness to it, and you can eat it raw or you can eat it cooked, and it's just so healthy and so pretty. So I grow this every year. I've been growing, I think I discovered this plant in 2020, and I've grown it 5 years in a row, and I grow it in buckets and I grow it in my green stock, and it does really well in both. We'll come to a close with herbs. Um, Most herbs that I grow are just the normal variety. I grow common thyme for thyme and broadleaf sage for sage and just the general things. But a few herbs I found a particular variety that I love, and basil is one of them. This is called Emily basil from Baker Creek, and it is a reliable, productive plant. It stays green, it doesn't bolt, it has a great flavor, and I've just been very happy with its productivity. My favorite chamomile is Zloty Land. My favorite cilantro is a dwarf variety called Dwarf Lemon. It doesn't have a strong lemon flavor. It mainly just tastes like cilantro. But I like the dwarf plant. It still produces a ton of, uh, the not only the seeds at the end of the season for the coriander part, but the leaves and everything for the cilantro part. But it doesn't grow huge, so it's great for a green stalk. I grow Tetra dill, which is just a shorter variety of dill. Again, it doesn't get, super huge and bushy. My problem with dill is always that it grows so big, and then it kind of flops over, blows in the wind, and it self-sows. This is a little easier to contain. And if you are a container gardener, the Tetra is a terrific container variety of it. And then the best fennel I have ever found is Dragon. This is from Botanical Interest. I grew Florence fennel for years. I love fennel. And Florence fennel did pretty well for me. But this one just produced a mammoth bulb, and it's the bulbs that I like. I want to give honorable mention to sweet marjoram. If you're somebody who thinks, like I do, that oregano tends to be too pungent, Sweet marjoram is in the same family, and I love its flavor. And so I switched years ago. I don't even grow oregano anymore. I just grow sweet marjoram. I've been very happy with the results, and it's great to cook with. And it grows exactly the same way. So there you have it. Those are my favorite varieties of each type of vegetable or leafy green or herb in my seed collection, and my recommendations, especially if you're living in like a zone 5, zone 6 area and you have similar growing conditions to me. I live in Western PA in the Allegheny Mountains. I live in a valley actually, and so I get a lot of wind, and that's a factor that I have to think about with corn and stuff. Corn varieties for me, I tend to grow shorter varieties, stockier plants rather than the tall traditional sweet corn varieties. And I also have some in not in ground growing anymore, but I have raised beds and I have containers. And so I have to sometimes consider what would work better in a container, um, even if it's a smaller plant, but it will produce good fruit. So I'm looking for dwarf varieties of tomatoes or microtoms. I'm looking for smaller varieties of pepper plants that don't grow 3 or 4 feet tall and run the risk of blowing or having the stems break. Bush varieties, like I talked about, of the vining crops. So I grow more like a bush watermelon that grows for me well, the sugar baby bush, a bush variety of zucchini, and other compact plants. Anyway, that's my recommendations for you. I'd love to hear in the comments, have you heard of some of these? Have you tried them? Have you had success like I have with them? Or what's your alternative? If you saw me recommend a variety, leave a comment. Tell us what you recommend, some of your favorite varieties that have just grown really well. And let us know where you're growing from, because that makes a difference. And I'm learning a lot, sharing it here, and I hope you'll come grow with me. Bye.